arrived.
Welcome back. It's Monday. Everybody made it through the weekend, hopefully unscathed and without a headache this morning. I am Old New Dude. He is
Richard York, Astro's trueborn son.
and we are doing Dany 8, A Game of Thrones.
Only death can pay for life.
Yeah, it's not my favorite chapter, but it's still pretty good.
So did you take an eye? It was a naive eye at the chapter and see what we were saying?
No.
Well, I mean, I specifically put it in the notes anyway, so that's fine.
Not a problem. Oh, are you talking about the Hidden Fingers?
No, I'm talking about. So in the later chapter, Miri's going to say, "You knew what the price was," and I'm saying that even a first-time reader who'd never seen the show should have known what the price was.
I forgot I was supposed to look at it that way.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, we talked about it last time, and I think our audience agreed that. And as we go through the notes, I think you'll see that it's pretty clear.
Lizzie, yay!
No. All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and apologize right now. I had a rough night's sleep, so my energy level is down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I will do my best to try to say something stupid.
Sadly, that's pretty normal for me, but yep.
Normally, it's about the only energy I have. I save it all for the episodes, but as normal, we start with the brains of the operation. Richard, he will say what he saw in the chapter, and then I'll jump in with my stupid stuff. So take it away, Richard.
Thank you, sir. The flies circled Khal Drogo slowly, their wings buzzing, a low thrum at the edge of hearing that filled Dany with dread. Some ominous foreshadowing here.
He writes dark better than he does anything else.
Beneath his painted vest, a plaster of fig leaves and caked blue mud covered the wound on his breast. The herb woman had made it for him. Mirri Maz Duur's poultice had itched and burned, and he had torn it off 6 days ago, cursing her for a magi. The mud plaster was more soothing, and the herb woman made him poppy wine as well. He'd been drinking it heavily these past 3 days. When it was not poppy wine, it was fermented mare's milk or pepper beer. So this is the opposite of doctor's orders regarding the poultice, keeping the wound clean, and avoiding alcohol.
So on that note, do we believe that at the very beginning, Mirri Maz Duur, my mouth's not working today. Do you think she actually did the right job on?
I think she was trying. I think she was doing. I think it was legitimate antibiotics that tend to sting, right? Back in the day, we used to use iodine, right? And it stung like heck. I suspect that she was using legitimate antibiotics.
Okay, because I've heard it both ways. I agree with you. I think she actually did her job at the first time.
She seems like in the next. She seems actually it's in this chapter. She seems genuinely surprised that he's not following doctor's orders.
Right.
Drogo, clumsily, she reached over and touched his arm. Khal Drogo reeled in the saddle, tilted slowly, and fell heavily from his horse. The flies scattered for a heartbeat and then circled back to settle on him where he lay. Drogo falls from his horse.
I know it's not a stretch, but Jason Momoa plays a pretty good zombie kind of Khal Drogo. What'd she say?
Lizzie says both. She used legitimate medicine, but she knew that he would screw himself over by drinking. Right? I mean, it was pretty clear that he was pretty clear that he wasn't going to follow her orders, right?
Right.
So from that perspective, I don't think it should be that big of a surprise to her. She does seem genuinely surprised, though.
Okay.
His breath rattled harshly in his throat, and he looked at her without recognition. "My horse," he gasped. And then later, "No," Khal Drogo groaned, struggling in Dany's arms. "Must ride, no." So he's somewhat aware. He might not be able to recognize Dany, but he's got some awareness and consciousness here.
Well, he knows that he fell off his horse. He needs to get back on there, or he loses the Khalasar.
Yeah. "Find Mirri Maz Duur," she told him. The god's wife would be walking among the other landmen in the long column of slaves. "Bring her to me with her chest." Kotho glared down at her, his eyes hard as flint. "The magi," he spat. "This I will not do." You will, Dany said, or when Drogo wakes, he will hear why you defied me. Furious, Kotho wheeled his stallion around and galloped off in anger. But Dany knew he would return with Mirri Maz Duur, however little he might like it. So I'm kind of surprised that would work because it should be fairly obvious he's not going to recover. So threatening this is not much of a threat, you know?
Right. I'm surprised that that she has her walking that far back there.
Yeah, that too.
Because she's already didn't they mention it in the last chapter about childbirth and then
yeah, you think they should be attending to her, yeah.
Right. Not attending to her and also attending to Drogo. I would think that she would be in her immediate vicinity with her maids.
So clearly that's not what happened. She's being treated just like another slave, apparently, right?
Yeah.
Irri wanted to leave the tent flaps open to let in the breeze, but Dany forbade it. She would not have any see Drogo this way, in delirium and weakness. So that word choice of delirium and weakness, I thought, was a great way to capture what's going on here, right? That's really a good. Delirium is a good explanation of what he's experiencing.
George is brilliant.
Yeah. We must bathe him, she said stubbornly. She must not allow herself to despair. Irri, have the tub brought at once. Dorea, Aroa, find water, cool water. He's so hot. He was a fire in human skin. Fire made flesh?
That might be also that hint to his bloodline, too.
The Andal is come and begs leave to enter. The Andal was what the Dothraki called Ser Jorah, which is a great ironic name, like giant. So Jorah is about as little of an Andal as a Westerosi can be.
Yeah.
And that's part of why she says it that way, right? Is that he's not an Andal. It's kind of funny because they call him Jorah the Andal so often.
Yeah.
He's definitely not an Andal.
He's like the Starks. He's 100% first man, isn't he? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, and he looks it too.
Yeah. See, that's another thing I don't understand. I know it's not on this topic, but you have the Umbers, big giant men. You have Mormonts, big giant men. You have the Karstarks, big giant men. You got all these first men families in the north that are big giant men. You had Brandon was a bigger man. I put him somewhere just under young Robert, 6'3", maybe.
Right, that's pretty tall, right?
Yeah. I'm assuming that Ned's probably 5'9" ish.
Yeah. Ned's shortest, yeah.
Right. And then, granted, that's the bloodline that's continuing. That's the figure or the characteristics that are continuing
with the possible exception of Robb, yeah.
Right. I mean, they don't look like first men.
Right. Right. Well, and that's probably maybe that shows that there's some children of the Forest blood in them, and the recessive genes and so forth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, where were we here? He wore loose trousers of mottled sand silk and open-toed riding sandals that laced up to his knee. His scabbard hung from a twisted horsehair belt. Under a bleached white vest, he was bare-chested, skin reddened by the sun. So I like to remind people of the book descriptions, but honestly, I'm always going to picture Ian Glenn now.
He did such a good job. I mean, granted, there was creepy at certain times, but it's creepy in the book, same as it was in the show.
In the book, to be honest. But
it's worse in the book.
Although he does have a lot of the best lines in the series. I mean, a whole lot of them. So I do find him to be very wise, even if he's a creepy slaver.
The Reeds and Bogmen are smaller. Yeah, this is true.
Right. They're clearly children of the Forests.
Well, Mira, her description is almost a description of a Stark when she comes to Winterfell.
And I don't believe she is, but I don't
right. But
I don't believe she is.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. No. The chemistry with the two actors that were playing Dany and Jorah.
Oh yeah.
Their chemistry, I mean, as a surrogate type father protector,
right,
and then the younger girl, their chemistry was like the best out of the entire series.
Oh yeah.
Them two together was just great.
Yeah, I'd agree. Deftly, with a delicacy surprising in such a big man, he began to scrape away the black leaves and dried blue mud from Drogo's chest. The plaster had caked hard as the mud walls of the landmen. And like those walls, it cracked easily. So Jorah broke the dry mud with his knife, pried the chunks from the flesh, peeled off the leaves one by one. A foul, sweet smell rose from the wound, so thick it almost choked her. The leaves were crusted with blood and pus, Drogo's breast black and glistening with corruption. And then later, black blood ran slow and thick from his open wound. So there's a lot of that black blood symbolism in the series, but
oh yeah, I mean it's all over the place.
Right, and sometimes people seem to think that it really does mean black blood, whereas I think it's especially when it comes to Beric in the cave. I don't think he actually has black blood. I mean, he's a guy who literally bleeds out and dies, who gets his windpipe cut off and dies. He has to be resurrected, right? So the implication is that he has bodily functions and so forth. But
right,
anyway,
I agree. The light in there's a lack of light in the cave.
Right. It's a comment that in the darkness it looks black, and it ties it to the undead blood of Cold Hands. But it doesn't mean that he has black blood and that his blood.
Right. Well, we saw that in the last chapter with Jaime's cloak. It's a red cloak, but at night in the low light it looks black.
Right. And those are often for symbolism purposes. He's comparing things to black in those situations.
Yeah.
Where should we go? Ashai, I would say. It lies far to the south, at the end of the known world. Yet Ben Said is a great port. We will find a ship to take us back to Pentos. So when he suggests Ashai, he's actually saying that they're going to go to Pentos. I kind of forgot that. I knew that he multiple times he suggests Ashai, and I forgot that his intention is to go through. Trust the symbolism.
We love you, Lizzie.
She's definitely seems to be a big fan of the Triplet Targaryen videos.
My son is too, man. He's loving them.
There is a spell. Her voice was quiet, scarcely more than a whisper. But it is hard, lady, and dark. Some would say that death is cleaner. I learned the way in Ashai and paid dear for the lesson. My teacher was a blood mage from the Shadowlands. Dany went cold all over. Then you truly are a magi. Am I? Mary Musdor smiled. Only a magi can save your rider now, Silver Lady. Is there no other way? No other. Khal Drogo gave a shuddering gasp. Do it, Dany blurted. She must not be afraid. She was the blood of the dragon. Save him. There is a price, the god's wife warned her. You'll have gold, horses, whatever you like. It is not a matter of gold or horses. This is blood magic, lady. Only death may pay for life. So Lady Thistle pointed out last episode that we are explicitly told the price is not horses.
Yep.
And one other thing I wanted to point out there, I forgot to put in the notes, is that she says death is cleaner. So she's telling her that this fate that if she's going to give to Drogo is a fate worse than death, right? That he's better off staying dead. She's warning him that he's better off staying dead.
Now, are we saying that if Dany and Jorah never entered that tent when Drogo came back?
I mentioned that later on at the very end. I'm like, so we don't know for certain, and I think it's deliberately ambiguous that whether Dany entering the tent threw off the spell and prevented his consciousness from fully returning. She certainly doesn't accuse Dany of that and claim that that's why or anything, but it doesn't mean that that's not the case either. I think as we've said many times, these books are deliberately ambiguous. Oh, in the I listened to the episode of Ryan Condal's podcast on Valyrian Steel, and the swordsmith there. I actually recommend fast forwarding to the swordsmith shows up because I found it kind of a boring slog, to be honest. But they're mostly these are mostly rich people collecting rare art. It's not my cup of tea. But when the swordsmith is on, it's pretty great. And he specifically said these books are open to interpretation. That's one of the great things about them.
Well, on book club Friday night, there was two. They weren't arguing, but they were debating strongly on different opinions. And I'm like, look, you know, a policy. I mean, until the books come out, y'all are both right. let's just continue with book club.
Yeah.
Because sitting there, I, I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind.
Yes. Dany was definitely, as Lindsay points out, Dany was definitely trying to keep Jorah from entering. She's trying to say no. And she actually fails. I think we'll see what we would consider to be evidence of intervention in that.
Yeah, I agree with it 100%.
Death? Dany wrapped her arms around herself protectively, rocked back and forth on her heels. My death? She told herself she would die for him. She must. She was the blood of the dragon. She would not be afraid. Her brother Rhaegar had died for the woman he loved. No, Mirri Maz Duur promised. Not your death, Khaleesi. Dany trembled with relief. Do it. So the price is a life that it's Dany's choice to end, not a horse and not Dany's. I knew what the price was. I think Dany had to know what the price was.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Now we cling to this hope that it's the horse when she says that they need the blood from the horse, right? So, and I think Dany did too, and redirected and was relieved at that point that the price was going to be a horse. But we know the price is not a horse, right?
Now, are we thinking that the horse's blood is what started the magic that continued on to what the actual price was?
I mean, she seems to imply that, right? But I mean, the price is not a horse. We know what the price is, and yeah. Mirri tells Dany, you knew what the price was when you agreed to do this, and so I think that's actually true. That's just my point.
I mean, even if she didn't think it was a horse, stop and think about that. I'm willing to let you kill somebody else,
right?
Take somebody else's life, right, to revive this man.
It's going to be somebody that's important to you, and if it's not you and it's not Khal Drogo, then it has to be your son.
Yeah, I agree.
Mirri Maz Duur chanted words in a tongue that Dany did not know, and a knife appeared in her hand. Dany never saw where it came from. It looked old, hammered red bronze, leaf-shaped, its blade covered with ancient glyphs. The Magi drew it across the stallion's throat under the noble head, and the horse screamed and shuddered as the blood poured out of him in a red rush. So we've referred to the weirwood stigmata as representing traditional animal sacrifice, and this is the real thing.
Yeah. Now, are we thinking that bronze blade, could it be, and the glyphs could be something related to First Men?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's and the fact that she somehow managed to still have it on her.
Right. Not to mention, isn't it a bronze sickle or something that the white-haired lady uses in the God's Wood?
Right. When they do the sacrifice to the weirwood tree in Bran's vision, yeah. That could be a callback to this.
Well, would that, the tongue unknown, would that be the old language the gods speak?
Well, yeah, I mean the old tongue, yeah, maybe. Okay. Makes sense. Strength of the mount, go into the rider, Mirri sang as horse blood swirled into the waters of Drogo's bath. Strength of the beast, go into the man. What's Lizzie saying here? She trained with Marwyn, so she probably had access to those types of relics at some point. Yeah. And who knows what else she might have come across in a shy and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
So this whole strength of the beast going to the man, it sure sounds like something we might see with Jon Snow.
Yeah. Which is sad.
Right. When they let the stallion fall, the bath was a dark red and nothing showed of Drogo but his face. Mirri Maz Duur had no use for the carcass. So the last reference before carcass is Drogo in his face. So are we sure that when she says she had no use for the carcass, that she's referring to the horse and not to Drogo himself?
Yeah, it's one of those that it depends on how you read the sentence.
Yep. You must. Once I begin to sing, no one must enter this tent. My song will wake powers old and dark. The dead will dance here this night. No living man must look on them. As Lazy Leo says, old powers waken, shadows stir. Anyway. When he saw that, if you've ever listened to Gray's podcast, you've heard the Lazy Leo's full quote over and over again, right? With Quinn of Quinn's ideas saying it.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you the truth. Since we started doing these rereads,
Yeah,
I haven't watched too many other videos
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. And sometimes I find myself rather enjoying rewatching these. Yes, yes, definitely. The shadows come to dance, my lord. Yes, I do think that that's a nice tie-in with this Lizzie.
Yeah, very, very nice tie-in.
Uh, when he saw the scarlet footprints her boots had left on the ground, the color seemed to drain from his face. "What have you done, you little fool?" he asked hoarsely. "I had to save him. We could have fled," he said. "I would have seen you safe to a shy, princess. There was no need." "Am I truly your princess?" she asked him. "You know you are. God save us both." "Then help me now," Sir George grimaced. "Would that I knew how." Mary Mousedor's voice rose to a high, ululating wail that sent a shiver down Dany's back. Some of the Dothraki began to mutter and back away. The tent was aglow with the light of braziers within. Through the blood-spattered sand silk, she glimpsed shadows moving. Mary Mosdor was dancing, and not alone. "The shadows come to dance, my lord. Dance, my lord. Dance, my lord." As Lizzie was just ahead of me on
Oh
the
yeah. Uh,
"You will die, Magi," Kotho promised, "but the other must die first." He drew his Eric and made for the tent. So Dancing with the Shadows is about as symbolic of the others as it gets, right?
yeah.
And of course, he's calling Dany a Magi there, by the way. That the "You will die, Magi" is directed at Dany.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, yeah, he's saying the other is Mary Mazdur, right?
Okay.
So the Magi he's talking to is Dany, and then the other that he's referring to that has to die first is Mary Mazdur.
So he's calling her a witch.
Yeah, he's calling Dany a Magi in addition to
Okay. I didn't catch it. That's nice.
yeah. "Horse Lord," Sir Jorah Mormont called. "Try me." His longsword slid from its scabbard. Kotho whirled, cursing. The Eric moved so fast that Quorro's blood flew from it in a fine spray, like rain in a hot wind. The longsword caught it a foot from Sir Jorah's face and held it quivering for an instant as Kotho howled in fury. The knight was clad in chainmail with gauntlets and greaves of lobstered steel and a heavy gorget around his throat, but he had not thought to don his helm. We see a lot of that in the lack of helms in
Yeah,
this.
we see that with some barrister.
We just passed the Jamie chapter with the no helm too here.
Yeah.
Kotho danced backward, Arak whirling around his head in a shining blur, flickering out like lightning as the night came on in a rush. Sir Jorah parried as best he could, but the slashes came so fast that it seemed to Dany that Kotho had 4 Araks and as many arms. She heard the crunch of sword on mail, saw sparks fly as the long curved blade glanced off a gauntlet. Suddenly it was Mormont stumbling backward and Kotho leaping to the attack. The left side of the knight's face ran red with blood, and a cut to the hip opened a gash in his mail and left him limping. Kotho screamed taunts at him, calling him a craven, a milkman, a eunuch in an iron suit. "You die now," he promised, Eric shivering through the red twilight. Inside Dany's womb, her son kicked wildly. The curved blade slipped past the straight one and bit deep into the knight's hip, where the mail gaped open. Mormont grunted, stumbled. Dany felt a sharp pain in her belly, a wetness on her thighs. Kotho shrieked triumph, but as Eric had found bone and for half a heartbeat it caught. It was enough. So Jorah brought his longsword down with all the strength left him, through flesh and muscle and bone, and Kotho's forearm dangled loose, flopping on a thin cord of skin and sinew. The knight's next cut was at the Dothraki's ear, so savage that Kotho's face seemed almost to explode. I'm picturing a certain scene, no spoilers.
I also, I think the blade catching
Yeah,
is a little bit of,
intervention?
yeah. I mean,
Could be.
George's beat. I mean, he's losing.
Yeah,
Uh, so I think that there's a little bit of intervention on that part, just to slow that one blade down to where Jorah could win.
yep,
Because
yep.
they need Jorah to win.
It needed a tiny bit of help, just a tiny bit.
That's all it takes.
Someone threw a stone, and when Dany looked, her shoulder was torn and bloody. "No," she wept. "No, please stop it. It's too high. The price is too high." More stones came flying. So that could be some LML symbolism right there with the
Yeah.
flying stones.
Yeah, the meteors.
Meteor storm, yeah. An arm went under her waist, and then Sir Jorah was lifting her off her feet. His face was sticky with blood, and Dany saw that half his ear was gone. She convulsed in his arms as the pain took her again and heard the knight shouting for her handmaids to help him. Are they also afraid? She knew the answer. Another pain grasped her, and Dany bit back a scream. It felt as if her son had a knife in each hand, as if he were hacking at her to cut his way out. So Jorah lost his ear without us really seeing it, which reminds me of the Princess and the Queen in the second dance, which is to say Queen Myrcella.
Yep.
No, Dany wanted to say. No, not that. You mustn't. But when she opened her mouth, a long wail of pain escaped, and the sweat broke over her skin. Could be hidden fingers. Hold that thought. Inside the tent, the shapes were dancing, circling the brazier and the bloody bath, dark against the sand silk, and some did not look human. She glimpsed the shadow of a great wolf, and another like a man wreathed in flames. So strange that the blue rose symbolism and the wolf and fire symbolism seem to take place in Dany's chapters rather than Jon's. See Triple Targaryens, episode 4.
Oh my goodness. I did not read through yours today. I like getting a lot of them just as it comes along. I was wondering how many of those you're going to get in this episode.
No, she shouted, or perhaps she only thought it, for no whisper of sound escaped her lips. So, as we said, definitely some intervention, some quantum leaping, some hidden fingers.
Right, it doesn't take much.
She was being carried, her eyes open to gaze up at a flat, dead sky, black and starless. So the concept of clouds blocking out the stars, sun, and moon appears over and over in this series, and it definitely seems like symbolism of a cataclysm similar to nuclear winter.
Yeah. Now, as far as that goes, do you think that the 300-mile long, 700-foot tall wall, when it comes crashing down, will it put enough of particles in the air to cause a nuclear winter?
Rather than a meteor storm, you're saying maybe it's the actual collapse of the wall stirring up dust.
I mean, that like I said, 300 miles long, 700 feet high. That's a lot coming down on the Earth. Not to mention the ice particles that it's going to put in the air, anyways.
Right. Could that block out the sun for 13 years? Maybe. I mean, I say 13 years because the concept is that it was supposed to be dark for a generation, and that we know that there were 13. That we were specifically told, I think, 13 years for the Night's King's rule, something like that, right?
Yeah, I can't remember, but that sounds right.
Yeah. So the concept that maybe it's a 13-year long darkness seems to potentially be hinted at with the stories and stuff.
Right.
So anyway, I do think that that it seems quite possible. Oh wait, what we got here from Lizzie. If blood magic can be used to wake the stone dragons, do you think any of the stone direwolves could be awoken as well? When the long night comes? Sorry, a bit off topic. Oh, yeah, I mean, we certainly get the symbolism of the statues coming to life in Winterfell. So it certainly seems feasible.
I agree. Because you get it all the time. Every time you go down there, the eyes are looking. The flickering of the torch makes it look like they're moving.
Right. That would include the direwolves, I would think.
Yeah, I agree.
There's also some hints that those are actually giant statues. So the waking giants from stone or whatever. But it's dragons from stone. But still, you could see. At one point, I think there's like a concept of them like reaching up to the knee of one of the statues.
Mm-hmm.
That might be when that might be in Dance when Theon takes Lady Dustin down there.
I can't remember.
Yeah, or maybe it was when Ned was there. I don't know, but I think at some point there's a reference to the fact that the knees of the statues are way up high. So
doesn't Robert, doesn't he have to reach up to touch?
Yeah, that's what I'm
thinking. Cheek?
I think there's something about about the. I think at some point it references the idea that the knees are actually up pretty high.
Yeah.
On them. Now maybe that just means that they're way up high on some pedestals, but I think the implication is that they're actually pretty big.
I agree.
All right.
Please no.
Yeah. Please no. The sound of Mary Masdor's voice grew louder until it filled the world. The shapes, she screamed. The dancers. So Jorah carried her inside the tent. So the fact that that's not actually in quotes makes me wonder if it's also, she's still not actually able to tell them no, right? She's still being still some intervention here preventing her from stopping this.
Now, could she scream be Mir Mazdur? The shapes she screamed, the dance.
I don't think
It
so.
doesn't say.
I feel like that would be in quotes if it was. I think this is still Dany screaming in her mind, trying to communicate and failing.
Okay, all right.
That's how I interpret it. But like I said, these books are open to interpretation.
No, you're right. There's no quotes.
The episode said.
Yeah.
So Dany broke the rules. I'm not claiming that Drogo would have been coherent, but who can say? It's ambiguous.
I get the feeling that he would be a lot like Robert Strong, the Mountain, brought back, possibly even the Black Blood, and I don't know.
And then in our next chapter, it's going to be Arya 5, where Arya and Ned get some unexpected haircuts, or at least blades to the head.
There you go. Funny thing, on a book club, the last 2 book clubs, I've had to tap out like 5 minutes before we do an Arya chapter. I've missed the last 2 Arya chapters, and they're like my favorite to read because they got so much going on in it. And I have a 7-year-old I got to deal with, and so I can't stay up till like 2 o'clock in the morning with them.
I'm not so sure about this next one being one of your favorites to read.
Oh, yeah, this next one, yeah, it's a good one.
Is it really one of your favorites to read?
Arya, yeah. I really enjoy Arya's chapters.
Yeah, I just thought that this. It's like saying the Red Wedding's one of your favorites to read. It's just
it. As bad as it is, it causes a reaction, and any chapter in the book that causes a reaction.
I agree. That makes it great. Those reactions make it great. Some people refuse to reread some of these things. I was just curious if you'd like to.
Now, there's certain scenes that that I'll skip just because of what they are.
Right, and that's my question. Do you like to actually read completely the tragic chapters? So Ned losing his head.
As long as it's not covering that one subject, I'll read every bit of the book. I'll skip the sexual assault or the sex with the minor type situation that goes on in the stories. But anything else, I have to read it. I need that emotional reaction to the chapters.
I agree. I do think that they're powerful and so forth.
I skipped
the fighting Biter, but first she said, "Crazy! I'm doing a reread of Dance, and Ash has a chapter where she sees Tris Botley and leaves him with a bead of black blood trickling down his neck." So black blood symbolism is again in there. That is interesting. I wouldn't have thought of Christopher as somebody associated with the black blood symbolism, but
is it maybe foreshadowing?
Yeah, maybe.
It's something to watch out for.
Yeah, interesting. And then, like you said, as she skips when Brienne fights Biter, and I do think that the was it the 3rd episode of House of the Dragon where they decided to make the homage to Robert's Hunt because George had been disappointed in the portrayal.
I want to say
yeah, and they have such blatant. Like almost everything in that episode is sort of a reference to the books in a way, right? So when he stabs the boar, when Sir Crispin, as Stephen calls him, stabs the boar, he I think they're trying to depict the sword as a tongue with that angle. If you look at it, it really does.
Was it a boar or was it a stag?
The boar.
Okay.
Yeah. So they let the White Hart go, which is a reference to the fact that the true knights always do no harm to the White Hart, right? As Sansa says, and Sansa says that the White Hart would be killed with the Golden Lannister arrow, right? And they show something resembling a Golden Lannister arrow killing the non-White Hart, and then they have the boar attack, and of course, right, and that's a reference to Sansa telling us that you're supposed to not do no harm to the White Hart, even as she also tells us that she has this prophetic dream of a Lannister golden arrow, right?
Right.
Resembling the Lannister golden arrow.
Rhaenyra seeing the White Hart, the White Hart reveals itself to the true ruler.
Right, right.
That was another nod that Rhaenyra is supposed to be.
Right. And and of course, my interpretation of this all is that Viserys and Rhaenyra didn't really have much of a clue. If in fact, if you listened to Preston talking about the his overanalyzing House of the Dragon series that he has like 9 episodes of so far or something. But not Joffrey. He likes he likes the killing part. So only animals though, supposedly. Yeah, right, sure.
He slowly got better at it.
Yeah. The but the so there's a whole lot in there, and when she does the whole stabbing over and over again, I think it's both a reference to what's the name of the fool that Shagwell, right? She does the whole Shagwell laugh thing, and she does the we talked about this before, but anyway, it's just I don't know how I got on this in the first place. Oh yeah, the biter thing. I was saying that the show tried to depict the Brienne and biter thing, and Brienne and Shagwell, and perhaps even more so Arya with her is it the tickler that she keeps stabbing over and over and saying, where's the gold, where's Lord Barrett, or where's Sir Barrick, and all that. And anyway, when the Hound finally pulls her off and says enough, it specifically says he looked like a stuck pig.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's and then I personally think that the whole reason that they wanted to do the way that they did the Stepstones War was to try and show Dorne and the conquering and Dorne resisting Aegon, right? And so
going into caves and stuff.
Yeah, I think that was their intention, was to try and depict that. Oh, Lady Thistle just got here. I think it was Polliver. Oh yeah. That's probably right. It was probably Polliver.
What happened to the alarm? You was doing something, wasn't you? We appreciate you showing up at all. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
You showing up. There was a question I wanted to ask Richard, and it was a question that Lady Thistle brought up at book club about Greywater Watch, why it floats around, and is it possible that it keeps moving around so the old powers or Bloodraven or whoever can't find it to watch and see what's going on?
Could be, and there's some reference that's supposed to be too, right? There's like Hallin's Moving Castle or something.
They were talking about it at book club. They said that you really need to. I was decorating for Christmas.
It's like glitter season.
Yeah. I'm allowed to have glitter on right now. My wife won't get suspicious. But my question, and I didn't do it. I didn't think about it until after my son went to sleep, and I'm laying there, and I'm like, okay, I know it's way off topic, but it was on my mind.
Hal's Moving Castle. There it is.
There you go. If the castle is moving to where something in the north, whether it's the Children of the Forest or Hal's Moving Castle, I just read it. It's really good. He moved his castle because he doesn't want to be fine.
Yeah, so it's probably a reference, right? George throws in a lot of references.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if they're hiding from the Children of the Forest that are up there with Bloodraven, then is the Isle of Faces that Hal and Reed went to, and the Children of the Forest that are up there with Bloodraven, are they on 2 different pages?
Yeah, people theorize that there may be different factions of the children and so forth.
Right. That was my question.
It could be. I mean, as we said, that a lot of these things are ambiguous and an open interpretation.
Right. It just all depends on who they're hiding from. Will depend on whether or not the Isle of Faces and the Children of the Forest that are with Bloodraven, whether they're on the same page or not. You
might really like that Valyrian Steel episode, by the way.
Let me write it down.
It's what's the name? Let me pull up the let me see if I can pull up the podcast name here. It's called The Stuff Dreams Are Made Of. The Stuff Dreams Are Made Of is the name of the podcast. And there's an episode called Valyrian Steel. But I'd fast forward till the Swordsmith shows up.
You know about how long it is before he shows up?
Oh, it's probably like 40 minutes into it or something. It's
Okay.
pretty far.
That's a long podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like halfway through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, I'm assuming that what we do here is more of a podcast than or
Yeah.
kind of.
I
But
think
I
they
like the
actually do.
style.
I think they actually do have it on YouTube as well. Actually, I think
Okay.
they mentioned that they wanted people to subscribe on YouTube or something. But I don't know that Ryan Connell needs our help.
uh, Aria 5 next.
Yep. Yep. A little haircut there. Little haircut.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
Like we were saying, even though something tragic happens in this next chapter, it still gets an emotional response. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the emotional responses
Absolutely.
that this book
Yeah,
give
I
you.
agree with you. I agree with you. I like that stuff. I don't believe in
Yeah.
skipping stuff either.
No. I mean, this right here, especially the first time through, I'd already seen episode or season 1, so I knew it was coming. I know what's coming in this chapter, even this like 6th time through, but I forget most of it. But it's such a traumatic chapter. There's such an
Yeah.
effect that it has. You can't forget it. You can't forget Ned getting.
Unfortunately, I'd heard the term red wedding before I read the third book. And I hadn't seen the show, but or at least I hadn't seen. I've seen the first. I may have seen the first season before I watched the.
Yeah,
Before
I saw the first
rest of the book.
season, and then I bought the books and read a speed read through a Game of Thrones.
I'd read a Game of Thrones back when it came out, but I'd forgotten it for the most part.
Never heard of it.
I kind of remember the gist of it, but
Yeah.
You know, and then watched the first. I think I watched the first season, then I reread it and read the books.
Right. Well, I read Game of Thrones fast to get through it, so I can get to the what is it, Feast of Crows, and then the third book is Storm of Swords.
Yep.
To get to those two.
Second book's Clash.
What's that?
The second book is Clash. Feast is the fourth book.
You got the Clash of Kings, the Storm of Crows, or Storm of Swords, Feast of Crows, Dance of Dragons. Yeah. I read through to get to A Storm of Swords as quickly as I could.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were saying that was the best book.
There's a lot that happens in it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can't tell you which one is my favorite book without a doubt. Clash of Kings.
Yeah, I've really come to like Clash of Kings, even though it's kind of least. I think it's probably the least favorited of people, but I kind of like it. It's especially once I've come to decide that Dorcas is trying to kill Tyrion.
There you go. Well, I mean, I couldn't tell you my favorite. If you told me to just pick, if you pick one book and told me to read it, I'd have a blast.
I'd probably pick I like them all, but I think I'd probably pick a Game of Thrones because I like beginnings. I don't know why, but I just like the beginnings and the fact that it's more of a complete story by itself than any of the rest because they all rely upon having those the earlier books and so forth. I don't know, just from my take, I kind of think I'd say Game is probably my favorite, but yeah, I've really come to enjoy all of them. Yeah, yeah, exactly, Lizzie. I mean, it's like I like all five, absolutely.
Yeah. If I had to give a slight edge to any of them, it would be Dance, and I don't know why.
Huh? Interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of people do say that. I mean, certainly that's the take that like the Nauticast people have and so forth.
Yeah.
I do think his language is gotten more more poetic and flowery as he's gone, and there's both a nice simplicity in the first three books where he's not as poetic and flowery, but there's also you can certainly appreciate that prose as well, right?
Right. And he's without a doubt the best writer I've ever. I love the point of view chapters. I love that style of writing. I can't read anything else now. I try to read.
Yeah, that's what David Lightberger said, that it kind of spoils you for other stuff.
Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams.
Yeah,
I bought the whole series, and I started reading the first book, and I can't get into it because of the way it's written.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I haven't. I keep talking about the Book of the New Sun, and I haven't actually read it. I did buy it. Um, I think it's all from one person's point of view, which is that, like, this torture who's apparently, always wrong about things, kind of like the characters in this series, because it's intended to be reread and reinterpreted and so forth.
Right.
So anyway, I feel like it's probably the closest thing out there, but I haven't even read it, so I can't really say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if George isn't able to finish, heaven forbid, the books, and somebody picks it up, I mean, I hope they keep the at least, even to not have all the information in it, but they keep the point of view chapters going. Yeah,
well,
you definitely.
And they say that the Expanse is written by people that were his associates and things, right? And so they say Expanse books are kind of like it.
I might have to try that.
There's a TV show too, if you want to watch the TV show first, if you enjoy having the. One of the things I like about watching the TV shows and movies first is at least that way I'm not. Don't even say that. Spits 3 times. Yeah. We don't want somebody to have to finish it.
Yeah.
Lady Thistle says The Expanse is really great.
Okay.
So anyway, James S. Corey is actually a pen name of a couple guys that at least one of whom, maybe both, are worked with George as like assistants and things. And it's definitely written in the style of Song of Ice and Fire.
Well, I would definitely have to check it out. I like books better than I do the show, just because.
Sure.
There are things that in the book, like this here. There are things in the book.
Yeah, and you're not. My understanding is that it makes a lot more sense if you've read the books than to watch it. Yeah.
I'm on the 3rd book, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you give it a thumbs up and Lady Thistle gives it a thumbs up, that's enough for me. I mean, I have to order those. I
haven't read them yet. My brothers, I think both of my brothers read them and watched the show and just loved them. But yeah, I haven't read it
yet. What I'll do is I'll probably buy that on the days. What's that?
We're not talking about The Expanse, Lizzie. Although I also mentioned the Book of the New Sun. Yeah, the Book of the New Sun is the one that I mentioned was probably the most similar to, in terms of fantasy. It's if you look at like old surveys of the most respected fantasy series, the Book of the New Sun is up there with. It's probably the 2nd or 3rd most respected fantasy series of all time, or it used to be before newer things like Harry Potter and so forth.
I think you told me that before already.
Yeah. If there's some old surveys out there where it's the only things that really rival it are Tolkien and Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea. So it's one of the most respected fantasy series of all time is the Book of the New Sun, and it's the quote that George gives in the Valerie Reedus History of Westeros things, where he says that best books are those that you enjoy and reread. That's kind of lifted from a letter that Gene Wolfe wrote to George, where he said that. So, and one of the things that's nice about it is he wrote all the books and then published the first one. So, he went back and edited as he went to make all the retcons and facts line up at the beginning. So it's a little tighter because of that. So,
well, George definitely had a lot of balls up in the air at the beginning of this, and had to change a couple of things to make it fit.
Right. And he's human. He's gonna change his mind and make mistakes.
We're at almost 50 minutes.
Yeah, that's plenty.
That's pretty good for a short chapter.
We've definitely digressed into other topics.
Well, Lady Thistle jumped in, and then we started talking about other stuff, which is always good. When the conversation changes from the chapters in the book, it makes for a better episode, I think. Just because.
Yeah, it's nice to just chat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we appreciate it, Lizzie.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Okay. Wednesday with Aria 5.
Yeah.
It'll be a dark day Wednesday. But it is what it is.
Yep. Yep.
And you read it out loud. Me reading out loud sounds like a 5-year-old is trying to read sometimes. Sometimes I get a slight Southern accent while I'm reading, which doesn't sound good for Game of Thrones. And then other times I read it so damn slow. But yours, I mean, I really enjoy.
I try to put some inflection in my voice. Try and
Right.
be a little more performative than just monotonously reading. I hope I'm doing all right with that.
No, you do it great. I would be monotone all the way through it. That it would be boring.
I was never a drama student, but we've all observed plenty of art in our time and try to emulate the style.
Yeah, there you go. I might have to practice. All right. Wednesday with Aria, Lady Thistle, Lizzie, we appreciate it. There was somebody else that joined in, but they backed right back out. So apparently they didn't like the hat.
Realize how crazy.
Thank you. You all rock. See you Wednesday. I appreciate it, Lady Thistle. We'll see you.
Edward goes west?
Edward goes west.
Edward goes west. What's that mean? What am I missing, Lizzie?
Give her a minute.
It's probably something that we should get, but we're not getting it.
I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
Give her a moment.
Anyway, give her a little wrap up and then.
Okay. Well, I mean.
Oh, the hat and the accent. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Duh. It makes perfect sense now.
Yeah.
I was thinking
we didn't get it.
I was thinking the books. I'm like, go west. West to Westeros. Yeah. All right. We'll see everybody Wednesday with Aria 5. We appreciate y'all joining us today. Hopefully you have the next couple of days go great for you. I have been the old new dude. He has been
Richard York, Asher's True-Born Son.
We will see y'all Wednesday. Stay safe.
Have a good one.